Isn't it wild to think about how actually drastically different the relationship styles are between those that are emotionally immature and what are with that emotionally unhealthy, and those who are actually emotionally mature? People that are emotionally immature, they don't approach relationships, one, in a healthy way, and they also don't approach relationships in the ways that people that are emotionally mature do. People that are emotionally immature, they tend to lack healthy boundaries. They tend to lack individuation and differentiation, which are all traits that emotionally mature, emotionally healthy people have. Emotionally immature, emotionally unhealthy people, they tend to see other people, even though they don't realize it. It's not so much that they tend to see other people this way, it's that they're so emotionally immature. They have not taken the time to actually mature enough that instead of utilizing other people as, and I know I say utilizing, it's not really a matter of utility because emotionally mature people, they don't use people. Emotionally mature people, they have the recognition between self and other. That sense of differentiation. I talk about that word a lot in a lot of these videos. Emotionally immature people, they lack the necessary differentiation. So, what do, even though they're probably unconscious, unaware of it? They project all of their shit because they lack healthy boundaries. They project all of their shit onto other people. So imagine like you're in a relationship with somebody who is emotionally immature, and it really doesn't matter what type of relationship it is after all. It's just a relationship. But because that person lacks healthy boundaries, instead of taking their shit to a therapist and working through it, they actually utilize you as a screen for their projections. So, in other words, they're just vomiting their pain onto you. So, it could be that as an example. Another example is somebody that is emotionally stagnated, emotionally immature, emotionally unhealthy. They might actually see you as an extension of them. Imagine you are just seen by somebody as a narcissistic extension of them. So, say for instance, like the person is the hand. We look at the palm, we look at the backside. I mean, I understand the hand is more than that, the fingers and everything, but imagine that just the palm itself is a person. Somebody that sees you as a extension of them, a narcissistic extension of them, and quite honestly doesn't give a flying fuck about you because they don't have the necessary individuation, differentiation, and healthy boundaries in place. They see you as no different than the finger. You're just an extension of them. You're there to take care of their needs. They don't care about you. This is the issue regarding relationships with people that are emotionally immature. They lack necessary development. So you think about it this way, look at an infant. And this is probably more of an extreme example, but we're going to go with it anyway. Look at an infant. An infant has no understanding of self and other. It has no understanding of boundaries. It has no understanding of individuation and differentiation. It can't differentiate between its mouth and its butthole. It doesn't know the difference. It's just this little thing that's, just, that's what it's doing. Whose needs come first? The infant's. Does the infant give a fuck about you? Does the infant give a fuck about its mother, its father? No, it doesn't. All that it does is cry and wait for that gratification to be taken care of. This is actually how a lot of people that are in adults, or I should say in adulthood, as adults, see people because they were emotionally stagnated in infancy or even childhood. Even people that were emotionally stagnated in childhood, they have many of the same characteristics. It might not be as severe, but it's very similar. And that's the reality of it. So, in contrast, the fascinating thing about people that are emotionally mature is that either they had a healthier, there's no perfect childhood, but they had a healthier or pretty healthy childhood. With that, they got the necessary healthy boundaries, they got the individuation, they got the differentiation. All of those key vital ingredients, I call them the healthy triad of childhood. All of those key necessary ingredients were put into action very early on. And as a result of that, from a very early age, they developed with those things. So then, with that, they became a healthy adult. And so, relationships with emotionally mature, emotionally healthy adults is far different from those with emotional immaturity and emotional unhealth. You're not going to be in a relationship with somebody that they don't really realize it. They're just emotionally immature. So here's the other thing that's very important to understand. With emotional maturity comes a certain level, a much higher level of conscious awareness, conscious self-awareness. You've actually taken the time to develop as a sense of self, either because you had a healthy or healthier childhood, or you did the work later on in life to develop in a healthy sense of self. With that, you actually have the necessary healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation in place to be able to look at another human being and see them as a person and not just a narcissistic extension of yourself that you just order around to do whatever it is that you want, like an infant would, or a toddler. Infants, toddlers, even children, they give a fuck about what it is that they need, especially in infancy. The id, look at Freudian psychology, the psychoanalytic theory, that model, the id, the ego, and the superego. People that were emotionally stagnated very early on think very much like infants in a very much life or death way, all or nothing. They need their needs to be taken care of right away, and they will literally use people to do that. They will hold relationships with people that are exceedingly superficial because they don't give a fuck about people. It's sad. It is unhealthy. And people that are like this, they tend not to have deep and meaningful relationships because they're literally incapable of it. Their lack of emotional development has stagnated them to be individuals that are really even not individuals with, in regards to the actual meaning of the term. They are just stagnated emotionally. They see you and I as not others, but just extensions of self. This is, say for instance, I'll utilize my arm as like an example of, another person. If I was emotionally immature, like exceedingly, which a lot of people unfortunately are, it's sad. If I was emotionally immature and this arm of mine was somebody else, if I saw them as an extension of myself, I wouldn't give a fuck about this person. All I would care about is what it is that they can do for me. Me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. Narcissism. And so it's so fascinating because this illustrates a clear difference between what it's like to be in a relationship with somebody that is emotionally immature and somebody that is emotionally healthy. Somebody that is emotionally healthy, that has actually taken the time to develop not only their sense of self, but a clear understanding between self and other. Meaning that they're actually going to develop a relationship with you, a healthy relationship with you, because they have the healthy boundaries, the individuation, differentiation. Boundaries in and of itself is such an important thing, something that probably a lot of people are rather unaware of. And the reason why it's so important is because it shows you where you begin, where you end, where the next person begins, where the next person ends. People that are codependent, they struggle with boundaries. Why? Because they're usually highly and deeply empathic. What does that mean? It is very easy, even effortless for them to get lost in other people's energies and other people's emotions because they lack the necessary healthy boundaries. They lack the necessary ability to be able to look at somebody else's problem, and they can have empathy, they can have compassion, they can have sympathy for the person. But codependents oftentimes, empaths oftentimes dive headfirst into other people's problems because the tension and all of that stuff, the uncomfortable energy, is what fucks them up. That is the thing that throughout their entire life, starting from a very early age, they tried to mitigate, they tried to get rid of, they tried to clear out. And so codependents also have a very hard time with boundaries. They also have a very hard time with self and other. They have a hard time allowing other people to go through their own shit. That's the reality of it. So this contrast between the dynamics of unhealthy relationships and healthy relationships is very fascinating, because people that are emotionally immature, they're stagnated to the extent that they're almost like an infant, or even somewhere around a toddler. They will throw a tantrum until they get their way. They don't understand the concept of it's not here right now, but it will come at some point. No, they want it right now. And they give more of they give way more of a fuck about what it is that they want than they do about the person in the relationship. They don't even really care about the person or the relationship. They just want the gratification of what is to come. Again, they are emotionally immature. That's the reality, but that literally says everything about it. People that are emotionally healthy, they recognize all of the things that people that are emotionally immature don't or can't, simply because of their lack of emotional development. And so people that are emotionally healthy, you're going to see them having the ability to hold deep and meaningful relationships because they don't see other people as extensions, narcissistic extensions of themselves. They see people as people. Oh, you have your own life. Oh, you have your own stuff going on. Oh, I can't just expect you to drop everything and cater to my every need. Oh, you have your own things to take care of. Oh, you are actually your own finely detailed and complex individual. Emotionally immature people, they don't give a fuck about that. No, they care about taking care of their life or death, all or nothing needs. And emotions are terrifying for people that are emotionally immature. There's a reason for that. They're dysregulated. They don't know how to sit with their emotions. Instead, they usually get rid of them with entertainment, with food, with whatever it is, with pleasure, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. But the most important thing as I end off this video is to clearly describe, explore, show, I guess, the difference between what a relationship is like with somebody that is emotionally immature and somebody that is emotionally mature. Somebody that has actually developed healthy boundaries, individuation, and differentiation, as compared to somebody that has not. And there is a night and day of a difference between those two experiences. And the reason that I make this video is to help people understand the contrast, because there is a contrast. It is wild. And just ask yourself, would you rather be in a relationship with somebody that actually has the capacity to deeply give a fuck about you and develop a meaningful relationship where very necessary ingredients are in place for the relationship to actually sustain itself? Or would you rather just be in a relationship with somebody that is severely emotionally stagnated, does not give a fuck about you, cares only about themselves, sees you as a narcissistic extension of them, lacks healthy boundaries, so you're basically just going to be an emotional punching bag for them. You're going to be a screen for their projections. You get to choose, but at the end of the day, One of them is definitely fucked up.